Gates Adams here on behalf of Apex Trader Funding, and I'm here today with Trader Chris in Southern California, another paid funded trader with Apex Trader Funding. Chris, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, obviously we have you on here because obviously had gotten your payout with Apex Trader Funding. Now, we talked a little bit before this. This is your first payout, correct?
Correct. I was very, very excited. It was a big moment. It's actually a series of big moments. One, to get my first funded account since I joined, and then to get my first payout a couple weeks later was really amazing. Super happy, super excited.
It's great when you see those milestones knocked down. Once you've passed a certain milestone, it just seems much easier to repeat as you continue to, expand and grow as a trader and as a funded trader. But now going back, this is not your first real stint at trading, though, right?
Correct. Yeah. So it's interesting because that the path is very circuitous. There's no straight line to where anyone is. I've talked to people that learn how to trade, and then 3 months later they're profitable, and you kind of want to strangle them because of how long it took, for my own journey. I started off swing trading about 5 years ago, and I had good success. I traded COVID stocks when COVID hit, and I had made enough to take 3 years off of work, so I did. But then I had to switch to income trading, and that was so much tougher than swing trading.
Right.
Swing trading, when I had a job and I didn't have to think about the day-to-day, I just placed the position and then 2, 3, 4 weeks later looked to close it, was so much different than income trading and just dealing with waking up in the morning and pretty much getting into a street fight from a physiological standpoint.
Right.
Every single morning. So I had success with swing trading. Then I struggled with income trading, day trading, just the emotions, the physical impact. And so I had 3 years off of work because I thankfully had a lot of wins when I was swing trading. But I since recently have decided to trade with prop firms money, and it's going quite well. I'm actually liking the psychology of it, and we could talk more about that a little bit. But
yeah, so that's actually a really good point. So let's talk a little bit, because you've done both, and we don't necessarily we get some traders who have, some traders who haven't. But I think it's a valuable lesson to see the difference, psychologically speaking, behind trading your own funds versus trading in a prop account. What have you noticed to be the differences for you?
If you think about, for me, the essence of trading is biological, physiological. So I know there's a analytical and it's a cerebral pursuit, but to me it's more body. The impact is body. If I've got too much size on, it's having an impact on the clarity of my thought. And so I'm focused on the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system, and my relationship to trading vis-a-vis those things, and it's always just this constant attempt to balance my thought, my response, and all of that. So the psychology, it's a huge difference when, I don't want to make Apex mad at me, but it's really nice to know that my risk of ruin with one account is the money I spent for the account.
Exactly.
I don't encourage people gaming the system, because there's obviously rules against that, and it's not a sustainable business model for anybody, and you're going to get smoked doing that. But the feeling of placing a trade and putting any size on, there is a different physiological impact. Instead of me saying, okay, I just put my mortgage on a trade, instead I say, okay, well, I'm using mortgage size positions, but my risk of ruin is much less. The things that run through my mind is I want to make Apex happy. I want to be consistent. I want to keep the account open. I want to be able to switch it from an aggressive account to a farm account. And so my thought process is different than just OSH beep beep. I've got mortgage size position on this particular trade. And so that helps. I feel like all the things that all traders know that we all have to face in order to polish ourselves and then refine, and then also you take a couple steps back and then you have to fix, just like a football team for
Right.
NFL that we go through. We need all the edge we can get,
Right.
whether that edge is a physiological one or a psychological one. I'm loving it for that. I know that's kind of a verbose answer, but I put a lot of thought into trading, and this conversation is right up my alley.
Well, and it's actually very up my alley as well. You talk about parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic, which I've done a pretty extensive amount of study on, specifically related to trading, the physiology, the mindset, which is really a deep passion for me.
We're gonna be friends after this call. We're making friends
Oh, for sure.
because we have a lot to talk about. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, specifically because of where I've taken this myself in my journey. What is your routine or your rituals prior to trading? Like for me, I got to work out. I've got to do a little bit of breath work, and I've got to do a little meditation before I can really get myself in the charts. Do you do anything like that specific to preparing yourself for the charts?
It starts the night before. So for me, I actually do yoga before bed. So I want to try to off gas any remaining chemicals that may be there from the morning, and just make sure by bedtime that my sleep is as good as I can get it. And so to your point, the next morning you need to have some sort of routines. Mine is more, since I did the off gassing, I wake up and then I use a in trade method. So I use breath of fire. And it's going to sound cheesy, but I recommend people look it up. I also think that if you're in a trade, that maybe get thing I have in my trading office is the bungee cord weights. So you literally, your body rushes that, like we're about to get in a street fight chemical process to you, and then you do something with it. This is actually based on some advice my wife gave me. She said, why don't you, instead of being mad at that feeling or that chemical process, why don't you do something with it? I said, you know what? It's true. I should just act like I'm fighting, because nature expects me to fight the Tyrannosaurus Rex or whatever with that huge of a surge. So I've been trying to do breath of fire, which is a yogic breathing technique that you essentially control your breathing and also bring your nervous system way down. It sounds cheesy, but it's like, it sounds like breath of fire, like, and you just keep doing it. You don't hyperventilate, but eventually you will calm down. So it doesn't matter if you have $100 million on a position, your body, even if it calms you down for about 2 seconds, it will calm you down. So if my family were to walk by, they would be thinking, what are you doing? He's breathing really weird. But that's actually on purpose so that I can try to mitigate the chemicals and think clearly when you're in a trade. So working out during the trade, I'll do squats. I'll literally do jumping jacks. I'll try to do anything I can to physically do something with that. But I'm also a big believer in calming music, like the brainwave stuff, where you just have it on and try to keep a sort of lower common denominator for your stress level. Anything possible, I will take. So if you have advice, I'm all ears, because I want to do this forever, and I'm trying to eventually get out of the career field that I'm in and just focus solely on trading. But I'm back into the medical field while I'm getting my Apex accounts where I want them to be and all that good stuff. But so far it's going great. So
that's awesome. I actually stepped out of frame for a reason. You were mentioning that when I switched from very, very short-term scalps that were literally averaging seconds to longer-term trades, I had a very visceral reaction to that. And my method was I learned to juggle. So I would sit there and juggle.
no way.
It kept my mind and my hands occupied in a way that made it a lot easier for me to go through that process and that transition. I don't do it as much as I used to, but in the very beginning stages when I made that shift, it was a lifesaver. I just ordered these things off Amazon. I was like, I just got to do something. Nobody told me. I don't know if it really, I don't know, it helped me. But for whatever it's worth. But I've brought that up a couple times. But I just I had them handy, so I figured I'd pull them up and share that with you.
No, it's pretty genius, because if you think about it, there's got to be. It can't just be, okay, I've got all this chemical process that's just begun. What do I do with it? There also has to be a way to stress condition. Sure. And so my feeling is, for example, if one mini is hard for you, put on 2 minis. And if you put on two minis and you go back to one, you go, oh, this is paradise, only trading one mini. And then you realize, oh, okay, well, that's actually conditioning me.
Sure.
So, and same thing goes to if you're trading micros, trade a mini and then go back to micros, even if it's just, quick scalp, because that will condition you.
Yeah, I actually love that. It's so counter to the sort of general wisdom is, if you feel too much anxiety, size down. But I like the idea of conditioning yourself to a larger size, maybe in a, pick one of your A+ setups or something along those lines and mitigate the risk as much as you can. But there is some value in that psychological shift. I think that's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever had anybody bring that up to me that way.
Funny you mentioned the do it for A+ setups. There's also a time of day where you could, if I'm giving any advice to anybody, I would say that the doldrum period, where the price moves much slower because it generally consolidates, noon New York time.
Right.
And so if you're going to try anything where you're going to get a little froggy and go for two minis or something, maybe then, and maybe after a sweep of liquidity where you say, okay, the NQ just dropped 40 points at noon. It's probably going back up. So, okay, two minis right here. Not in the initial balance or right after that would be better have a published stop anyways.
Don't do it at 9:35 a.m.
Exactly. Precisely.
Or heaven forbid 9:29. So it sounds like you've got a pretty solid system. The strategy seems to be working. Obviously, you have come from a background that has now trading your own funds and then moving to a funded account is a similar concept to conditioning yourself to a higher position size. That risk level is no longer the same. So even if you are taking a bigger position, it's in a funded account versus in your own bank account. And ultimately, hopefully that breeds the psychological benefits that help ultimately lead to higher levels of success. And I think that can apply to everybody. I'm not saying everybody needs to go take a chunk out of their savings account and go trade that for a week. However, for those that have, I think that they might find a significant benefit in coming back to that funding sort of philosophy.
I would agree with that.
Now, at this point, obviously, you're relatively new in your career with Apex. In fact, we were talking beforehand. You've got your certificate for your payout, right? You just got that first payout. First payout, 3K. Now, are you just trading one account right now, or are you trading multiples?
I just passed 5 new funded accounts today.
Okay.
I was trying to take advantage of the sale, and since I got that payout, I've gotten 4 more payouts.
Wow.
Okay. Yep. So it's going well. I'm sure everyone can relate. I'm partitioning, so I have accounts that I want to keep as a farm account, and then accounts that I look at more aggressively.
Sure.
And I made the mistake last week of trading my 2 farm accounts like my aggressive accounts. And so that's just a silly mistake for me. And so I paid the price for that. But moving forward, I want to keep that strategy of you should have a less aggressive system for a couple of accounts and then a more aggressive system for a couple of accounts. Because if you try to trade, I know some people love just trading a trade copier and things, but if you try to trade them all the same, it risks all the accounts at once. And
right.
And that's not necessarily, it doesn't jive with my psychology, but my 3K payout hit this morning, my bank account today. Nice. And it's been wonderful. So the month of September, and now we're week and some change into October, I've already gotten that many payouts, which is awesome.
That's phenomenal. Let's say you had the opportunity to talk to a new trader, maybe doesn't have the experience that you have, but really wants to get in here, get that first evaluation, and get started off on the right foot. What's the biggest piece of advice you give them?
There's so many strategies. You could get on YouTube right now and find 50 strategies of what might work. But then when you look at them and you start thinking, oh, that just seems so retail or something like that, that you need your own, something that suits you. So what I would tell everybody is you need to paper trade with size, and then you need an evaluation account as a interim between trading real money. The evaluation account is your opportunity to feel some pressure, sure, but also still be in a low pressure environment. That paper trading is no pressure. So someone says, yeah, I grew my paper trading account to 15 million. Yeah, good luck. See if you can throw 27 minis on tomorrow for real and see how you do. So the eval account is a great opportunity. Even though I love Apex offering the 1 day to pass, I actually try to utilize that a lot. It causes a lower success rate. So if I was giving advice and I said, don't do what I do, listen to what I say, right. I would say, get your eval account, get one. My buddy Brian, he's an Apex, very successful Apex trader. And he's the one who got me involved here. He says, treat it like a business. So if you get one account funded, then get the payout, and then don't get ahead of yourself. Use those funds to get more accounts.
Right.
And then once you get more accounts, use those funds to get more accounts and let the business pay for itself. So everybody, honestly, there is such a low risk to getting one eval account at a minimum. Get an eval account. Practice the strategy that makes sense to you, but don't necessarily try it all in one trade. Even if you're going to do 1 day to pass, at least do it in 3 or 4 or 5 trades in the 1 day, because the fluctuation, you can hit your trailing drawdown pretty fast. And been there, done that, where I've literally been on a 50K account. I've been at 52,800, and then I go, oh, I got this easy. Throw on size, and then just start sliding backwards, and then go, oh, why did I do that? I could have gone to a micro and passed it.
I don't know anybody who else who has experienced that. Now, of course, I have myself. I've been as high as like 52.9 something, and just had it go against me. And it's the same thing. This is a psychological game that we are playing, if you want to phrase it that way. And to me, that's absolutely the biggest pillar when it comes to developing a long-term successful strategy. So
I have one cool thing to share. This is my personal record for passing an eval, but just so close that you literally just cross over the threshold. I don't know if you can see, but it's $53,001.46. I just did that today, and I'm actually very proud of that.
Did you calculate your target, or did it just happen that way?
So I tried to. It was at $50, but I think somewhere in my fill that maybe when it got all of my size, it didn't get me over. Normally I'm over by 30 or 40 or $50. This one was $1.46, and I'll take it. I actually love it. I'm glad it happened.
That is
awesome.
Awesome.
I made the account, got to fund it. So
well, listen, we are definitely going to have to keep in touch. We are having a lot of the same conversations, and I'm truly enjoying this. I could do this forever, but nobody watches a 20-minute videos. Well, Chris, thanks for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. I cannot wait to catch up and see how things are going a few months down the road.
I appreciate it too, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here. Very honored to be here.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Chris. We'll talk to you soon.